Simon & Schuster Audio presents Wildfire, a novel by Hannah Grace. Read by Teddy Hamilton and Lauren Sweet.
Chapter 1. Russ. Henry's eyes are burning into me from across the living room. Your summer is going to suck. There's an echo of snorts from my teammates, the loudest coming from Maddie, Bobby, and Chris, who all told me something similar when I said no to joining them in Miami this summer. Inspiring words, Turner. I shoot back at my unimpressed roommate. You should become a motivational speaker. You'll be sorry you didn't listen to me when you're stuck doing manual labor and team-building activities at staff training next week. Henry continues to flick through the Honey Acres brochure, his forehead creasing with a frown the further he gets into it. What's night duty? I have to sleep in a room attached to the camper's cabin twice a week in case they need anything. I say casually, watching Henry's eyes widen in horror. The rest of the time I sleep in my own cabin. It's a no from me, he says, throwing the brochure back onto the coffee table. Good luck, though. Could be worse, Robbie muses from across the living room. You could have to move to Canada this summer. Nate groans loudly, burying his head in his girlfriend's hair, sinking further into the recliner they're sharing. Fuck off about fucking Canada. You brought this on yourself, Stassi mutters, just loudly enough for us all to hear. Stop being such a crybaby. Nate, you want to play for Vancouver. I'd rather move to Canada than look after 20 kids for 9 weeks. The genuine disgust on Henry's face would make someone think I'm going to work in a slaughterhouse, not spend the summer as a counselor at a sleepaway camp. You really didn't think this through, Callahan. I really did. Honey Acres' main clientele are busy and rich parents who need to keep their kids occupied for the full summer while they work. Thankfully, the fees are expensive as hell, which means the facilities are better than every other camp I looked at. And given the work keeping multiple kids in check, the job is well paid with multiple full days off. Something I know is a luxury, and definitely not the case with most camps. Chris and Bobby suggested I apply after I turned down their vacation offer, explaining I needed to get a job. They went to Honey Acres one summer 10 years ago and swore it was the best camp in California, and I was willing to apply for anything. Money has been tight since the bar I worked at was shut down by the cops. Unfortunately, its reputation for suspicious activity and serving underage students finally caught up with it, and there's no sign of it reopening. So even though Henry thinks my judgment is seriously flawed, the alternative is hanging around Maple Hills, unemployed, being hounded by my mom to visit her. It was a very easy choice. What I'm hearing, Hen, is you still don't want to come with me. I tease. It's still a no, thanks. But if you need a fake emergency to be able to leave, let me know. I'll make a call. JJ leans closer to Henry from beside him on the couch, nudging him with his shoulder. The only emergency you're going to have for the next 2 years, Captain, is drowning in too much JJ! Stassi squeaks, cutting him off. Get your mind out of the gutter, he chastises. I was going to say paint. Stassi rolls her eyes at him, giving him the finger as he blows her a kiss. Lowering her hand, she focuses on me, a soft smile on her lips. You'll have fun. Ignore Henry. We'll miss you around here, though. You don't even live here anymore, Maddie says, eyebrow raised. You've never lived here, she counters, starting off an argument about who spends more time at this house. As grateful as I am to have a job this summer, it does kind of suck to be heading off when I've only just moved in with Henry and Robbie. Plus our unofficial roommates, Maddie, Bobby, and Chris, who magically appear whenever food is mentioned. It's weird having my own room after 2 years of sharing in the fraternity house, and before that with my brother Ethan, but I'm already so much happier here. Aside from the obvious things like having my own space and living with people I like, it feels good not to have to strategically plan when I can jerk off or, on rare occasions, get laid. Henry had the courtesy to let me know that after 6 months of living next to Nate and Stacy, he can confirm with absolute certainty that the room is not soundproof. "Are you two going to argue all afternoon, or should we get ready for the party?" Robbie shouts over Stassi and Maddie bickering. "Tonight, we're throwing a party to say goodbye to the guys graduating, or a farewell and fuck off party, as Robbie calls it. He's staying at Maple Hills for grad school and is happy to retain his title as party planner. That said, no one looks particularly enthusiastic about preparing the house for the horde of Maple Hills students descending on us in a few hours. I know it feels like the end of an era for the guys. 4 years is a long time to spend every day with someone. For Nate and Robbie, it's even longer. They haven't ever lived in different towns, never mind different countries. For me, it feels like the start of one. I joined a fraternity at the beginning of school because I wanted a family that wouldn't let me down like my real one does. I thought my frat brothers would be there through the good and the bad, that I'd finally have people I could rely on. But it didn't happen. I sensed I'd made a mistake freshman year, but I persevered, thinking it'd take a while to feel like family. I knew I'd made a mistake when all the shit happened with the rink at the start of the year, and the only people who were there for me are in this room. It was the worst time of my life, which says a lot, and I was bottling up how embarrassed I felt. Then, one day, Henry asked me if I was all right, and I told him I was fine. I expected that to be the end of it, but he told me he knew I was lying, and he'd be back when I was ready to talk. Every week we had the same conversation, until I bumped into him over winter break. I tried to go home, but only lasted 24 hours with my dad's post-casino loss drunk, incoherent bullshit, and my mom's borderline professional inability to hold him accountable for his actions before I was on my way back to campus. Henry was heading to the hockey house to get his art supplies, and when he saw me, he asked me if I was all right, and for the first time, I told him no. After spending so many years too ashamed and angry about my dad's gambling problem to tell anyone, it all came tumbling out like word vomit. Not even Coach Faulkner or Nate knew the full extent of my home life, but I told Henry fucking everything. He stood there, a canvas tucked under his arm, listening. When I was done, feeling like a ton of bricks had been lifted from my shoulders, he asked me if I wanted to get Kenny's wings and hang out with him over the break. He didn't ask me questions. He didn't offer advice. He didn't judge me. That's why I immediately said yes when he asked if I wanted to live with him and Robbie. The room has descended into chaos like it always does when everyone is together, with multiple conversations overlapping, the next louder than the last. People mistake me being quiet for being shy, but I'm not shy. I don't think I'm even that quiet. It just looks that way because of how loud everyone else is. I prefer to sit and listen than be the focus of everything, unlike my teammates. There's too much pressure with being the center of attention, too many opportunities to fuck everything up. I'm much happier being an observer, watching from the outside. Making my way into the kitchen, I grab a water from the refrigerator, taking another when I sense someone behind me. "You ready for your official first party?" JJ says, accepting the bottle from my hand. We both lean against the kitchen counter, looking into the living room. "I think so. Don't piss Robbie off is the only rule, right?" JJ snorts as he unscrews the lid of his drink. "It happens to be my favorite pastime, but it depends how hard you want to be worked next season. I think I'll stay on his good side." "Feel like home yet?" he asks, taking a sip of the water. I've spent a lot of time with JJ over the past few weeks and have discovered that beneath the Joker persona, he's very brotherly. After using my savings to buy myself an old truck a couple of months ago, I became the unofficial moving guy for everyone's boxes. It was nice to feel useful, so it didn't bother me, until Lola was worried her stuff would accidentally get shipped to Nate's new place in Vancouver, and she drew dicks on the boxes that weren't hers or Stassi's. JJ and I drove to his new place in San Jose with a truck bed full of the decorated boxes, getting funny looks from other drivers for the entire journey. You learn a lot about who someone is when you're stuck in an enclosed space with them for 10 hours. Ironically, JJ joked that I gave hardly anything away. Getting there, I admit. Big change from what I'm used to. "Remember you belong here. Everyone wants you around, you hear me?" he says quietly. I've never voiced my insecurities to any of the guys, but somehow JJ knows I keep myself on the outside of things. I called him perceptive once, and he said it's because he's a Scorpio, whatever that means. I appreciate it anyway, and for the first time in a long time, I feel understood, which is a strange feeling to accept, since a lot of the time I don't understand myself. I hear you, I confirm. He slaps me on the shoulder before heading back to his seat in the living room. I follow slowly, throwing myself into the seat beside Henry. Robbie claps his hands once, giving us all hockey flashbacks as we instinctively give him our immediate attention like well-trained dogs. Such a mini Faulkner, jeez, Nate grumbles, shuffling uncomfortably in his seat. You know I flinch during rounds of applause now? Bobby adds. I think it's an actual trauma response. I hear that clap when I'm alone, Maddie says, nodding in solidarity. Nah, Joe snorts. That's Chris next door. Just the one. Clap her cheeks. Singular. Robbie hisses something under his breath as Chris launches a couch cushion at Joe, which he catches and throws back. Chaos ensuing. Where were these defensive skills when you played hockey, Joe? Henry asks, catching him off guard long enough for one of Chris's cushions to smack him right in the face. For fuck's sake, Robbie grumbles. This party isn't going to happen if one of you clowns ends up with a concussion. Come on, one last time. A natural silence settles over the room as everyone reluctantly lines up to be told what to do by Robbie. And there's a weird moment where I think it occurs to everyone that this is the last party the guys are going to throw together in this house. I'm lost in my thoughts when JJ starts laughing and shouting, $5! You all owe me $5. What? Stas is crying. He wraps his arm around her and kisses the side of her head. And it's before she's had any alcohol. I win. Wiping her tears away with the backs of her hands, she looks around, bewildered. You guys bet on me? The guys all reach for their wallets, plucking out bills. Maddie shrugs as he slams it into JJ's awaiting palm. We technically bet on your tears. This is unbelievable. Nate, did you know... She turns to her boyfriend who's discreetly pulling money from his pocket. You're such a douchebag. You're all douchebags. Nate hands his $5 bill to JJ and tugs her into a tight hug, kissing her temple affectionately. You didn't even try to last. I could have bought you chicken wings with that money. Unbelievable. It's just so sad. You guys are all going your separate ways, and there's just an atmosphere. If I told you Russ didn't bet on you crying today, would that make you feel better? Her watery eyes meet mine, and she grins. Thanks, Muffin. You're not on my shit list. I give her a nod of acknowledgement, letting her think it's because I thought she wouldn't cry, which I knew she would, instead of saying it's because I don't gamble. Excuse me, Henry interrupts. Neither did I. Henry also knew she would cry, but decided he doesn't gamble anymore in solidarity. JJ is still counting his money when Lola strolls in with bags full of red cups. She looks along the line and scowls. She cried, didn't she? Yup, the room echoes. God damn it, Anastasia. Lola drops the bags into Robbie's lap, bending to kiss him, before reaching into her purse and pulling out some cash. This is the last time you're ever getting my money, Johal. Until I fail at hockey and follow my true calling in life, JJ counters. Stripping. Until then. Now that everyone's debts have been paid, can we please get this shit show started? Robbie groans. The silence from earlier returns, the same shared thought running through my teammates' minds one by one. Nate clears his throat, nodding. One last time. The weird atmosphere disappears as soon as Lola bursts out laughing. All right, Alexander Hamilton. And I'm supposedly the dramatic one. Jeez. Bunch of fucking drama queens.
Chapter 2. Aurora. I'm not supposed to be here right now, but there's something about basketball players that messes with my ability to exercise self-control. I said I wasn't coming, and Amelia is already waiting for me at the hockey house, so I don't know why I let Ryan freaking Rothwell convince me to abandon my plan and swing by. What is it about tall, muscular men who are good with their hands that makes me weak? It's one of life's great mysteries, one that half the women at Maple Hills are trying to figure out, judging by the crowd at this party. With several of the team's players graduating, tonight is their final party. Ryan and I said goodbye to each other 4 times last week, and as great as he is, we both know he's not going to keep in touch. He has the NBA draft next month, and I'm under no illusions I'll be invited to sit courtside anytime soon. But that didn't stop me from coming by just because he asked me to, which says more about me than it does about Ryan. I'm minding my business, questioning all my life choices, and nursing my drink in a quiet spot in the kitchen when someone I wish was leaving slides along the counter beside me. My eyes instinctively roll the second Mason Wright's mouth opens, but that doesn't stop him from bothering me. He steals my drink from my grip, an act he knows I detest, and takes a sip. "Looking for your next victim, Roberts?" God, I hate him. "Isn't it your bedtime, right?" His eyes roam up and down my body, and he smirks, making me internally gag. "Is that an invitation?" Thankfully, I have no problem exercising self-control around this particular basketball player. An invitation to fuck off and leave me alone? Yeah. He chuckles, and the idea of him finding joy in anything irritates me. I don't know where this kid got all his confidence, but he should bottle it and sell it. I've never known anyone, especially a freshman, as arrogant as this boy. Returning my drink to me, he leans in a little closer. "You know playing hard to get turns me on, right?" "I'm not playing, Mason. You can't get me." "And why's that?" "Other than the fact I cannot stand you, you're a freshman." "You're 4 months older than me." His eyebrows pinch together in frustration because God forbid a woman doesn't immediately fall to her knees in his presence. "You're a freshman," I repeat. He'd never believe any woman not being interested in him. Partially because he is very attractive, but mainly because he's overconfident as hell. He looks more like a stereotypical rock star than a basketball player. Tall, black hair, piercing blue eyes, and pale skin with detailed tattoos decorating his arms and back. Sighing, I down the rest of my drink. "I don't like people who are younger than me." "Careful, princess." He smothers a laugh with his hand, and my eyes narrow. "Your daddy issues are showing." "The only issue I have is you." I want to strangle him, but knowing Mason, he'd probably assume it was foreplay. But speaking of daddies, how is Director Skinner? As arrogant as my arch-nemesis is, he does have one weakness: his dad. Nobody knows that his father is head of athletics at Maple Hills, and he wants to keep it that way, which is why he uses his mom's maiden name. You'd think both of us having issues with our dads would help us bond, but Mason and I have never gotten along, and a friendship will never develop over time. I can safely say I always will be patiently waiting for his downfall. "Nice to know I'm the topic of yours and Ryan's pillow talk." His signature smirk sinks into a scowl instantly, and he reaches for the nearest liquor bottle. "I'm moving into Rye's room. Did he tell you? I won't even change the code, so you know how to get in." This kid does not know when to quit. "Aren't you cute? But seriously, Mason, can you give your dad my phone number? He's hot." He's not. And I want to be handed a position on the basketball team. "Oh, fuck off, Aurora," he grunts, slamming the bottle back onto the counter and stalking off toward the garden. "Careful, princess," I shout after him. "Your daddy issues are showing." Arms wrap around my waist from behind, and I'm preparing to start throwing punches until I hear a deep voice I'm very familiar with. "I'm not bailing you out of jail if you kill him." He told me I have daddy issues. Ryan looks confused as I turn in his arms to face him, like he's not quite sure where this conversation is going. It's only okay when I say it. He nods, finally understanding. Gotcha. What did you say to piss him off? I asked him for his dad's number so I could be given a spot on the basketball team. Rory. He drags out the "re," so I know I'm in trouble. You know that's supposed to be a secret. He's a sensitive little bean beneath that broody bad boy act. It isn't my fault that Mason has a bad relationship with his dad. It doesn't exactly make him special, and I never said the word nepotism. Well, if it was a secret, why did you tell me? Ryan leans down and kisses my forehead tenderly. Because I know you hate him, and I was trying to get into your pants. I would have let you in anyway. I would let Ryan Rothwell into my pants any day of the week. I have let Ryan Rothwell into my pants many days of the week, in fact. Ryan's a great guy, which is probably why I'm choosing to face Amelia's wrath for the sake of seeing him one last time. My expectations for men are so low, they're in the pits of hell. But Ryan is one of the good ones, and our friends with benefits situation over the past couple of months has been fun. He has a bit of a reputation for string-free fun, and I firmly believe he should be awarded by the college for his services to women's happiness during his 4 years here. They should erect a statue in his honor. Maybe I'll ask Mason's dad about it. His finger nudges under my chin, tilting my head up and dragging me from my thoughts. I'm going to miss you, Roberts. A response is stuck in my throat. Something like, I'll miss you too, or even a simple thanks would be enough. But the words won't come out. I hate that a few affectionate words, a simple gesture of friendship, a sign that the times we've spent together meant something to him, is enough to make me spiral. Our relationship has always been purely physical. Not that he hasn't tried to make me stay over after hooking up, but hearing he'll miss me feels good, even if he does have a dozen other women to tell that to. He sighs, almost like he can hear my racing thoughts, and pulls me into a hug, sinking his face into my hair. I'm gonna be jealous of the guy who gets to hear what happens in your head when you have that look on your face. Bring him to a game so I can launch a ball at his head. I don't think either of us needs to worry about that happening. He laughs into my hair, still not letting go. I'm just the stopgap. I'm the guy you fuck right before you meet the love of your life. Statistically, that's going to happen if you fuck everyone. Trust me, Roberts. I should start a money-back guarantee scheme. You'll get your happy ending. God, Ryan, don't make me emotional when I'm about to head to a hockey party. You know being sad makes me horny. He laughs as we reluctantly untangle and take a step back. If you say being sad makes you horny 2 more times, Mason will appear like Beetlejuice. I roll my eyes as I search out my nemesis, finding him inconveniencing someone else across the room, out of earshot. Can you take him with you? I can't deal with him without you. He tucks my hair behind my ear. You told me you want to change this summer. Maybe you'll come back from camp and be able to tolerate him. You'll be more experienced with dealing with children. I said I wanted to grow out of all my toxic, self-sabotaging habits. I did not say I would change enough to stop hating Mason. Maybe you should switch out some of those contemporary romance choices for self-help books. My eyes narrow. You complete 1 English degree and you think you're qualified to start handing out book recs? You're right, Roberts. Let me just stay in my lane. The goodbye is hanging in the air, but I can't quite force myself to say it. You'll let me know how the draft goes, right? Kissing my forehead one last time, Ryan nods. You bet. Stay out of trouble. Don't I always? Literally never. He laughs. That's the problem. Amelia meets me as I step out of my Uber, sporting the unimpressed scowl I know and love. You're late. It's hard to be intimidated by her when she looks so angelic. Literally. Her mousy brown curls have been braided into a halo, and the tip of her nose and cheeks are still red from sunburn after falling asleep in our garden yesterday. The rest of her has remained her normal shade of ghostly white, so I'm not sure how she managed to just fry her face. Something I won't be bringing up right now. Would it help if I told you how pretty you are? It doesn't help, and I lose her the second we walk through the door of the hockey house and past what appear to be life-size cardboard cutouts of the hockey team. We tend not to visit these parties despite their campus-wide reputation, due to Amelia's preference for events that end before midnight and my preference for basketball. But JJ, one of her friends from the LGBTQIA+ society, is heading up north to play hockey professionally, and she promised to say bye. So naturally I agreed to tag along because I'm a great friend, but also because she promised me a veggie pizza on the way home later. I am slightly worried that being late is going to mess with her willingness to buy me pizza. Despite the hordes of people, it feels oddly homely for a college house occupied by hockey players. There are pictures in frames on the walls featuring a group of guys and 2 girls, couch cushions that don't look like they're harboring enough germs to start a biological war, and, unless my eyes deceive me, someone has dusted in here. Is that a coaster? Fighting my way through the crowd, mainly confused that my feet aren't sticking to the floor, but definitely thirsty, I head toward my favorite place at any party, the kitchen. The huge island is already covered in various half-empty liquor and soda bottles. My eyes scan the various cupboards, trying to guess which one seems the most likely to hold glasses. Party or not, I've watched too many documentaries about the sea to use plastic cups. I tentatively sneak a look in one of the cabinets to find nothing but shot glasses. Literally. Not one thing other than shot glasses in an entire kitchen cabinet. The second cabinet has bowls, and as I'm about to find out if the third cabinet is the right one, feeling a lot like Goldilocks, someone clears their throat beside me. Are you a burglar? Looking around the cupboard door, knowing my face is definitely the color of a stoplight, I take in the guy who just caught me red-handed. I'm 5'7", even taller in my stilettos, but he still towers over me. However, there's something decidedly unintimidating about him. His biceps are fighting to escape the sleeves of his black t-shirt, the fabric tight across his broad chest. But his features are soft, and there's only a hint of stubble along his jaw. It's like the delicacy of his face doesn't quite match the rest of his body. His light brown hair is styled off his face, and when I finally settle on them, his sapphire blue eyes stare back at me, something unsure but intrigued swimming in them. This is probably the most awkward way I've ever met a hot guy. I give him my most innocent smile. Is it a burglary if it doesn't leave the premises? Oh, damn. I knew I should have studied law. His lip quirks up in the corner, dimples appearing beside his mouth as he fights a laugh. I think burglary is taking something that doesn't belong to you. What if the owner never finds out? Well, if the owner never finds out, then surely that's just negligence on their part, he says, rubbing a hand against the back of his neck. I try to keep looking at his face, not his bulging arms, but I'm weak. What are you looking for? He takes a step toward me, the strong smell of sandalwood and vanilla reaching me. He presses his hand against the door I'm still clinging to, closing it gently. What am I looking for? Glasses. There are only plastic ones. Sorry. Do you know how much plastic ends up in the ocean? No one who lives here will know. This is the longest conversation I've ever had about glasses. It's possibly the longest conversation anyone has had about glasses, but I find myself thinking about what other kitchenware I can bring up to keep this going. So this crime is for the sharks? Well, not just the sharks. Fish, turtles, whales are all included. His eyes close as he fights a smile, shaking his head. Maybe an octopus or two. My good deeds don't discriminate. Reopening his eyes, his hand lingers on the cabinet door for another few seconds before he takes a step around me and heads to cabinet 6, opening it to reveal shelves of various mismatched glasses. Don't throw it at anyone or we'll both be in trouble. Stretching onto my tiptoes, I take one with a Maple Hills emblem on it and one for Amelia that says, "My friends went to LA Pride and all I got was this glass." You found those quickly. Have you burgled here before? Stop talking, Aurora. Placing them on the counter, I reach for the nearest liquor bottle, pouring its contents into what I'm calling my victory glasses. The helpful stranger laughs and opens a bottle of soda, sliding it in my direction. He waits until I'm about to pour to answer me. "No, I live here." Oh, shit. His words catch me off guard, and the soda bottle misses the rim of the glass, covering the counter in fizzy, sticky liquid. Double shit. Sorry. Before I even have a chance to react, he's mopping up my mess with a dishcloth. Don't worry, he says softly, stopping me before I can apologize again. It's just soda. Stand over there so you don't get wet. I do as I'm told and watch as he produces a disinfectant spray, cleaning the counter properly among the drunk and oblivious people still trying to make their own drinks. When he's done, he grabs the soda bottle and carefully fills both glasses, handing them to me. "So you're the one who dusts," I mutter. "What?" "Nothing. Thank you, and sorry again." He leans against the counter. "Sorry for breaking the stay out of our cabinets rule, or for trashing the kitchen." Folding my arms across my chest, I purse my lips playfully. I don't see a sign. This time, he really laughs, a deep rumble in his chest that seems genuine. I notice the way he watches me, discreetly looking me up and down. His attention makes my body buzz, and I immediately want more of it. You don't strike me as the type of woman who would pay attention to a sign anyway. And why is that? It's a loaded question. I know it. He knows it. The guys, who I assume are his teammates hovering close by trying to listen in, know it. Answer carefully, we've got an audience. He pulls his eyebrows together as he turns to check behind him, and by the time he turns back to face me, the tips of his ears have turned pink. Our spectators scurry off, but it's enough to have killed this guy's confidence. I find his sudden shyness endearing. I'm used to being hit on, but I don't think anyone has ever blushed in front of me. I want to find out what his first impression of me is. I want him to keep looking at me like he did 30 seconds ago. I want to murder his friends a little. I'm about to come right out and ask him when a warm hand settles on my arm and Amelia appears from behind me. I'm so thirsty. She takes one look at Mr. Helpful and me and grins at him. Hi, I'm Amelia. He gives her a polite nod. Hey, nice to meet you. I'm Russ. Are you Jaden's Russ? She asks, grabbing her drink and rolling her eyes at me when she reads the slogan. He looks almost bashful as he registers what Amelia just said. Why are you so cute? Yeah, I think so anyway. I don't think JJ knows anyone else called Russ. He rubs the back of his neck again, the hem of his t-shirt showing the tiniest sliver of suntanned skin, and my horny brain malfunctions a little. I'm Aurora, I blurt out, borderline aggressively. Amelia turns to look at me, her expression a mixture of confusion and embarrassment on my behalf. I opt to ignore it and guzzle my drink, letting the harsh bite of the vodka sting away the pangs of humiliation. Russ's eyes are locked on to me as my cup lowers and he comes back into view. His dimples are showing again. Amelia clears her throat and I force myself to look at her. She's staring at me like she's definitely going to torment me about this later. I came over to tell you that a game of drunk Jenga is starting in the den, if you want to play. Drunk Jenga? They put dares on some of the blocks, Russ explains. Robbie and JJ like to make things interesting. Amelia tuts playfully. I knew he'd be involved somehow. God knows what the dares are. Rory, I'll see you in there? I nod, and she disappears again, leaving me with my new friend. How interesting are we talking? His lips quirk up again, and my God, there is no reason for me to want to make out with someone because of how their lips tug up, but the way he flits between confidence and uncertainty is doing something to me. Russ takes a long sip of his beer while he considers my question, and I just wait. I should be more embarrassed about shamelessly hanging on the words of a man, but this one is hot and a little awkward, and those concerns feel like a problem for my future therapist. Why don't you come with me and find out?
Chapter 3. Russ. Why don't you come with me and find out? It sounded good in my head, but now that I've said it out loud, I can't help but internally cringe. This woman is far too hot to be talking to me, and I have no idea how I've managed to land myself in this situation. JJ caught me watching her snoop around the kitchen and gave me a success with women pep talk worthy of an Oscar before pushing me in her direction with the instruction to offer her a drink. While I'm not totally useless with women, I'm far from the best, which I proved when my first conversation with the attractive stranger in my house was about burglary. I usually need a bit of time to relax before I feel comfortable, which isn't ideal at college parties. Alcohol sometimes bridges the gap long enough for me to ask for someone's number, but I don't drink often, which is why I'm chronically single. Even though I'm buzzed from my drink, Aurora is just too fucking pretty, which is my excuse for why my brain is scrambling for some engaging conversation. I couldn't even see her face when I approached her, just long legs and curves covered by a tiny skirt and top. Then her head popped out from behind the door, blonde waves framing her face, cheeks flushed pink, emerald green eyes glaring up at me innocently like someone who got caught with their hand in the cookie jar. And then she smiled, something she's probably done 1,000,000 times in her life, but I forgot about my lack of skill with women. I forgot about everything. I promised myself earlier I would talk to someone if I thought they were hot, and technically I'm doing that, even if she's about to politely reject me. I'm trying hard to channel the artificial confidence my beer is giving me and not crumble beneath her inquisitive gaze as she considers my offer. She holds out her hand, and I have to stop my eyebrows from shooting into my hairline from the surprise. Lead the way. Threading my fingers with hers, I navigate us toward the den, silently repeating, "Fake it till you make it," and "You're a hot hockey player," and "The only person who knows you're not confident is you," in my head like JJ told me to. I never expected his advice to work, but he looks totally unsurprised as I walk toward the Jenga setup, hand in hand with Aurora. He looks a little smug, in fact. I keep her body close to mine, careful to stop drunk people from bumping into her until we reach the crowd around the dining room table. "You ready for this?" I say, although I'm not sure if I'm talking to myself or to her. As she looks up at me, her eyes soften and her hand squeezes mine gently. How much trouble can one game of Jenga cause? My friend Joe is heading to Yale Law School, and they asked him what's considered a felony in California. Joe didn't even look surprised. After he read out a list from his cell phone, Robbie and JJ wouldn't let anyone else see what they were writing on the blocks, giggling to each other like school kids. Nothing says college spirit like posting bail. I'm sure we've both done worse. Come on. She doesn't let go of my hand as she moves confidently through the crowd, head held high, hair dancing across her bare shoulders with every step. I'm not sure how I ended up as the one being guided, but I follow her toward the gap between Stassi and Amelia. Stassi waves at me enthusiastically as I come into her view, patting the table beside her. "I saved you a spot, Muffin." It's clear she's already drunk by the fact she pats so hard the Jenga blocks and shot glasses wobble. "Okay, Godzilla," Lola snaps from across the table. "Let's not take down the tower before everyone's naked. Jeez." Stassi mouths an oops and gives me a dopey, drunk smile as she cuddles into Nate's side. Her eyes flick down to my hand joined with Aurora's before flicking up to Aurora, her jaw slacking slightly before giving me an awkward thumbs up. How am I supposed to fake being confident with women in these conditions? Muffin? Aurora asks as we slot into the space between our friends, letting go of my hand to rummage through her purse for her cell phone. I want to do something with my hands instead of standing awkwardly beside her, but checking my phone is my least favorite thing to do, so I settle for pushing my hands into my pants pockets instead. I watch as she swipes across at her notifications, huffing slightly before pushing it back into her purse and looking up at me. It's a really, really long story. My hour-long fake relationship with Stassi feels like 1,000,000 years ago now, and I'm not even sure I could describe the weird but wholesome bond we now share, even though she says my poor communication skills give her a headache. Say something interesting, Callahan. Aurora doesn't say anything further to my non-answer, instead turning to talk to Amelia on her other side. Blowing out a sigh, I turn my attention to my friends. The guys are hammering Robbie with questions, and I can see him getting more and more irritated. "Where's Hen?" Robbie asks, eyeing each of my teammates. "This was his fucking idea." "I'm here," Henry shouts, pushing his way through the crowd, a woman with mussed hair following him closely. "Sorry, I'm here." If this was hockey and Henry was late because he was getting laid, Robbie would tear into him. Robbie takes party games as seriously as he takes hockey, but he's desperately trying to prove he's not as uptight as Faulkner after being compared to him all day. Becky, Henry's latest fling, whispers something into his ear, kisses him on the cheek, then disappears back into the party. Henry's smirk is annoying Robbie more, which is great for every player on a secret countdown waiting for him to go off. Robbie stops staring everyone down, and his arms lift slightly like he's about to clap, and everyone holds their breath. But one arm lowers and the other wraps around Lola's hips. "Okay, do I have time to go to the bathroom?" Chris asks. "No, you fucking don't," Robbie snaps. "Just fucking stand there and listen to the rules of the game before I lose my goddamn mind." There's an echo of sighs as everyone besides me and Henry reaches for their wallets and piles bills into Chris's outstretched palm. Robbie waits with his arms folded tightly across his chest, and when all the money has changed hands, he starts again. "The next person to piss me off isn't playing next season." Everyone waits silently, biting their lips, trying not to laugh. "You pull out a Jenga block. If it's blank, the turn moves to the next person, then you stack it on the top of the tower." "So like regular Jenga then," JJ grins. Robbie ignores him, probably because he can't bench JJ anymore. "If you get a dare, you either do it, do the forfeit on the back, or drink the 2 shots. If you're not a 200-pound hockey player, you only need to do 1 shot to make things fair. Whoever knocks the tower over has to streak down Maple Avenue. Lola, you go first." "Wait," Joe interrupts. "Why are there shots if there are forfeits on the back of the blocks?" Robbie pins him with a look that sends a chill down my spine. "Because I made the rules, and I say there are shots and forfeits." The game starts, and in typical Titans fashion, it's chaos. Maddie has to send the last photo on his camera roll to his family group chat. He won't tell us what it is, but he does step away from the table to take a call from his grandmother. Henry and Bobby have to switch clothes. Joe pulls a block that reads, "Give your underwear to the person opposite you." And Aurora's friend Amelia argues with Chris that she's definitely not opposite Joe. He is. By the time the game reaches our side of the table, Chris is wearing Joe's boxers over his clothes, and he takes 2 shots instead of making out with Amelia, who has a girlfriend and threatens to punch him if he even tries. Amelia pulls a blank block, followed by Aurora doing the same. It's hard to miss the disappointment. I'm distracted by her cute pout when I hear a "Hurry the fuck up, Muffin," from one of the guys. I push the block through the center carefully. "Show the last message you received to the person beside you." I try not to drop the block as my hands start to sweat, flipping it over because whatever my forfeit is won't be as bad as that. Send Faulkner an "I love you" text. Wrong. People are asking me what it says, but my mind is running, working out how to get out of this without explaining why I need to. Aside from having no desire to get on Coach's bad side again, my last received text message was from my dad asking me to send him money. My stomach sinks with the weight of the ugly truth that he finds a way to snake his way into every situation and spoil it. I didn't even read it fully before closing the conversation. It's always the same shitty excuse anyway. I'll pay you back. I'll pay you double back. I know a guy who knows the trainer, and the race is a sure thing. Or once he's had a drink, you have everything because of me. You've turned your back on this family. Won't even help your own flesh and blood. You're not my son. You think you're better than us because you go to a fancy school. You'll just fuck it up anyway. Impatient for a response, Stassi plucks the block from my hand and reads it out to the group, who understandably laughs. I'd laugh too, if the message was from anyone else. I take a shot in each hand, downing them in quick succession. Wow, you really didn't want me to see those nudes, Aurora says as I wipe a stray droplet with the back of my hand. I'm kidding. Don't look so serious. It's nice. Nice? She nods. That you're not flashing around your private stuff. Private is nice. Private, something I'm good at. Shame it's for all the wrong reasons. The game continues, around and around. Shots are taken, dares done, insults flung in the direction of Robbie and JJ. Nate ends up having to send his sister money for not kissing the person to his left, Robbie. Bobby sends an I miss you text to Faulkner. Henry has to shotgun a beer, and I end up shirtless for not kissing the nearest redhead, who happens to be Lola. Kissing the girlfriend of my roommate and coach doesn't feel like the best way to make it through the rest of my college career. Amelia leans across to the tower, which is looking significantly more unstable than earlier. A grin spreads across her face as she reads from the block. Nominate 2 people to kiss. You guys are so childish, she mumbles, turning the block around to face us, lips tugging into a mischievous grin. Well, since they're the only people I know, I suppose I'll just have to choose Aurora and Russ. What am I, a ghost? JJ shouts from the other side of the table, throwing his arms up dramatically. Our friendship is clearly a joke to you. I hear her say something, but it doesn't immediately register that she's said my name until I sense Aurora looking up at me. She really is gorgeous. Jesus. The only person who knows you're not confident is you. Her cheeks are more flushed than earlier, eyes glossy. Are you sober enough to be okay with this? She nods, grinning. Are you? I gently slip my hand beneath her hair to cup the back of her neck, rubbing my thumb beneath her jaw as her pulse hammers against my palm. Yep. She stretches up on tiptoes as my head lowers, her hands finding their place on my neck, and then my mouth meets hers. Soft at first, hesitant, until she moans softly, and for a minute I forget that we have an audience. The audience doesn't forget us, though, and when I pull her body closer to mine, they whoop, bringing us both back down to earth with a crash. She takes a step back, hand shooting to her lips as she turns to Amelia and mutters something that makes her grin. Fake it until you make it. The game moves on, blank block after blank block around the whole table, making people question if Robbie and JJ just gave up writing dares, to which they're incredibly insulted. Aurora pulls another blank block, and a disappointed groan from the table follows. This tower is holding it together better than I can, Aurora mumbles, putting the block on the top of the wobbling structure. I pull mine and immediately spot Robbie's untidy scrawl on the wood. Change direction. Change direction, I read out loud. I don't get it. It means it's my go again, Aurora says from beside me, and Robbie nods to confirm. She picks her block, which, speaking strictly from an engineering standpoint, is one of the worst ones she could have chosen if she wants the tower to stay upright. It occurs to me that she might just want to see it fall over, but the thought stops there when she starts to laugh, and it's fucking magical. She spins the block to face the group. Give your nearest hockey player a lap dance for 2 minutes. That was the one I wrote, Lola shouts happily. You're welcome, Muffin. If looks could kill, I'd be dead. Every player is looking at me with pure jealousy after appraising Aurora for a little too long. I clear my throat loudly, and they all snap out of it. Oh, man. I'm going to get a boner in front of all my friends. Bobby rushes off to find one of the chairs we stored earlier as Anastasia asks Aurora her musical preferences. I know it isn't a big deal, but it low-key feels like a big deal. I'm pretty sure my face is bright red. How the fuck am I supposed to fake confidence through this? Bending to her height, I move close to her ears so only she can hear me. You don't have to do this. Don't let them pressure you. It's a silly dance, she says, squeezing my arm. But thank you. If you're not good with it, I'll just do the shots. I'm good with it. I'm so fucking good with it. Anything you don't want me to do? You can do anything. There's something about already being shirtless that makes this whole thing feel more intimate. Thankfully, having multiple people staring right at you while you sit in a dining room chair is enough to wipe that feeling away. Nice to know this is what I'll think of next time I sit to eat. Aurora reaches for her shots, doing two. I'm not forfeiting, she confirms quickly. It's for courage. I feel like I need courage, and all I've got to do is sit here and let a woman who is so far out of my league we're not even playing the same sport dance on me. The music changes from the upbeat chart song that was playing to Zane's Sweat, and Lola holds up her phone with the timer set. It's easy to forget the rest of the room when Aurora walks over, smiling as she positions herself behind me. Both hands start at my shoulders and slowly trail down my chest and abs until she's bent over enough that her head is level with mine. She pecks my cheek and laughs lightly, and that's the moment that I know this is about to be the best kind of torture. Moving in front of me, she starts to sway her hips slowly in time to the music. Nudging my knees a little wider, she steps between them, turning, and lowers herself down onto me. 30 seconds of Aurora's ass rubbing right against my dick pass by in a flash. Her back is flush with my bare chest. The smell of peach wafts under my nose as her hair swishes around. I start reciting Dead Presidents in my head, but it's no use. Her hips change rhythm, and her body vibrates as she chuckles, looking up at me. Yeah, she can definitely feel my hard dick digging into her ass. My knuckles are white from gripping the seat of the chair. I don't even need to be touching her, apparently. She lifts herself from me, and I don't need to panic about everyone spotting my boner for long because she turns and lowers herself back into my lap, straddling me. This is worse. So much worse. Worse in a better way, that is, since she's fucking hot, and now I get to watch her face as she grinds into me, looking wholly pleased with herself. You can touch me, she whispers, her eyes dark. George Washington, John Adams, Thomas, Jefferson. My hands grip her hips as she continues to move, my thumbs gently grazing an exposed sliver of skin between the band of her skirt and her top. Her hands sink into my hair, breasts pressing against my chest as her face gets closer to mine. And then the timer blasts, and I want to commit a murder for the first time in my life. The spell lifts, and we're both instantly aware that we're not alone. She sits back, breathing heavy, as, thankfully, JJ suggests everyone take a break to get new drinks and use the bathroom, saluting me as the area begins to clear. My hands are still on her hips. Her eyes are still locked on mine, and there's something there beneath the surface, something uncertain, like she's waiting for something, but I don't know what. Good job. It's clear she was waiting for some form of praise because her smile increases as she starts to stand, but I tighten my grip, keeping her on my lap. Can I have a minute? Her teeth sink into her lip as she fights a laugh, nodding. Sure. James Madison, James Monroe, John Quincy Adams.
Chapter 4. Aurora. Straddling the lap of a hockey player is not the action of a woman trying to turn her life around. To be honest, sitting on the boner of a total stranger is not how I saw tonight going. Well, maybe. but in a way that would involve no clothes and certainly no audience. I forgot all about my summer self-improvement efforts the second I stepped foot in this house, and that lack of commitment to the cause is exactly why I need time away from the temptations of Maple Hills. I shouldn't be this happy about doing a good job, but what can I say? I'm a girl that likes feedback. More than anything, I needed the reassurance I didn't just make a fool of myself in front of most of the hockey team. It's not my first rodeo, lap dance-wise, but it's the first time with someone who now isn't making eye contact with me. If I'm not looking at his face, I have to look at his body, and the guy is essentially a slab of muscle. You won't burst into flames if you look me in the eyes, you know, I say softly, feeling a little insecure. Time seems to move slower in this house, and while there's nothing unusual about two people being this close in a dark corner of a college party, the minute that's passed feels like a lifetime. I can feel his steady breaths under the palms of my hands, his skin hot. As expected, color rushes to the apples of his cheeks as his eyes meet mine again. He clears his throat and rubs the back of his neck, a nervous tic he's done several times since I met him earlier. First in the kitchen, then when he had to take his shirt off, and everyone cheered at his perfectly sculpted body, and now while we wait.
Listen, this isn't working. You're too fucking hot, and the presidents aren't helping. I've moved on to Stanley Cup winners, but with you just here...
He gestures to my thighs spread across him.
Looking like that,
he says, gesturing up my body.
It's going to take forever.
You're too fucking hot. The compliment floods my system, melting me, and the vulnerability from 10 seconds ago dissipates into nothing as the validation seeps into my system like a drug. It's not that I've never been told I'm hot before. I have. But this guy seems tortured by it, like he'll never recover from it, like I'm the tipping point of his sanity, and that is a feeling I could get addicted to. My lips quirk as I desperately try to ignore my brain seeking more attention. It's unreliable in the presence of men, since it's so easily impressed by mediocrity. Presidents? The blush spreads to the tips of his ears. Something else about him I find incredibly endearing, like he wasn't planning to share that little snippet of information. How about you stand behind me until you're good?
You're an angel.
He sighs.
Sort of. That wasn't very angelic, but you know what I mean. Thanks.
He holds my hips, guiding me as I stand. The bulge in his pants unmissable even beneath the dark lighting in the den. I feel my skin flush as it registers quite how much I like his tight grip on me. There isn't the same energy when the game restarts, and I'm too distracted by the man behind me to pay attention. It's hard to concentrate on which block to pull when his arms are caging me in, and he quietly whispers which ones to avoid in my ear. I particularly like when I bend toward the tower and my ass brushes against him. I swear I hear him groan. Thanks to Russ's guidance, my turn doesn't pull down the tower, but I can't pretend there isn't a small part of me that wishes it would fall. The round passes by us without incident, and although there's no reason for Russ to hide himself behind me anymore, he doesn't move. I lean back, head resting against his chest, and when his posture stiffens, I immediately start to move away from him. But his hands find my hips again, and he pulls me back gently, his body more relaxed this time. The sound of crashing blocks makes me jump, and when I drag my attention back to the game, one of the guys is holding a block and staring at the pile on the table.
"Henry, you can't just knock over the tower when you get bored,"
one of the guys shouts.
"I didn't," Henry says. "Maybe I'm just not very good at Jenga."
Russ scoffs behind me.
"You're never going to be good at it if you pull the one block keeping the foundation straight." "Not everyone is an engineer, Russ," he says. "It isn't my fault."
Time to face the consequences, The redhead across from me squeals. Get naked!
If you wanted to see me naked, Lola, you could have just asked.
Watch it, Robbie snaps. Amelia nudges me, interrupting the argument between what are obviously very close friends. Bathroom and drink? I have no interest in watching a naked man scare the neighbors. As much as I'd like to see someone streak down a road, I don't want to leave her alone. Sure. It takes all my willpower to give Amelia my hand and let her drag me away. I'll be back, I mouth to Russ, and fight my way through the crowd with the heat of his hands still on my skin. How do you lose someone in their own house? Maybe he's hiding from you, Amelia says, muffling her snicker with her drink. I thought he was interested. I think he's really shy, you know, she says, leaning against the kitchen counter. I'm sure he's the guy JJ said just moved in. Quiet, keeps to himself. Not your usual type at all. I roll my eyes as I reach for a soda bottle. Not because she's wrong. She isn't. Shy isn't who I usually bring home, but because Amelia likes to regularly remind me how terrible my taste in men is. To be fair, I give her an opportunity to remind me every time a guy turns out to be the asshole the red flags told me he'd be. The red flags I ignored in favor of string-free sex. Amelia thinks liking men is a poor choice to begin with, and I have to remind her that, unfortunately, you can be attracted to men and not actually like them as a species. If I wanted to be rejected by a man tonight, I'd have called my dad. An awkward, not quite a laugh bubbles out of me as I fill up our glasses, careful not to spill the soda this time. God, I can't wait to get away from Maple Hills. Before I can say anything else, Amelia's cell phone lights up in her hand. I'm gonna step outside and take this call from Poppy. It's breakfast time in Europe. You good for 5 minutes? I'm sure I can keep myself out of trouble for 5 minutes. Go, give my love to Pops, please. Amelia kisses my temple affectionately. You say that, but I'm not convinced. I'll be back. Text me if you're about to go missing. She looks genuinely excited as she makes her way toward the backyard to talk to her girlfriend. I love their love. I really do. But God, they make me feel single. It's hard being the official third wheel to two people disgustingly perfect for each other, especially because I've never had a real relationship in my life. I haven't even had a first date. For the most part, I'm happy single. But sometimes, when they're curled up together under a blanket at home, for a tiny moment that I'd never admit to, I do feel a little jealous. When faced with two people so well suited, I find it impossible not to wonder what my own version of that might look like. But then I remember how fun being traumatized by my parents' relationship was, and the desire for my own evaporates as quickly as it arrived. For all the romance books I've read, and all the happy endings I've enjoyed, I can't imagine my own. I'd like to hope I'll have one, but hope can be dangerous. Someone much smarter than me once said something poetic and clever about love being when you give someone the power to hurt you, but trust them not to. But I can't imagine ever trusting someone that much. If I want my feelings hurt, I am more than capable of doing it to myself. It's a skill I've honed over many years, and arguably my best one. I'd like to trust someone one day, though. Maybe. Pulling my cell phone out of my purse, I decide to wait for Amelia by pretending to look at what people are saying about qualifying for this weekend's Grand Prix. My aimless scroll lasts 10 seconds before I give in to the real reason I got my phone out, snooping on my dad's latest girlfriend from my fake account. It's my current favorite way to hurt my own feelings, and, luckily for me and my masochistic tendencies, Nora loves updating every second of her life on her stories like she's a 13-year-old on social media for the first time, and I love being unhappy watching it. I also love reporting the pointless lives she does for bullying and harassment. At least 90% of the impulsive decisions I've made in the past month have been triggered by her posting about how wonderful my dad is. And yet, here I am again, watching it. Her face fills the screen, far too close and terribly lit, and then, in a move that makes my heart stop beating, she pans around to film my dad packing boxes in what appears to be her daughter's dorm room. I'm not sure my dad would even know where I go to college if he didn't pay my tuition. I hate watching it, but I can't stop. My entire life has been a fight for my dad's time, so to watch him give it away so freely is like a punch to the gut. When I spoke to his secretary to see if he would be at my leaving breakfast, she said yes, and that he didn't travel to Spain for the Grand Prix this weekend because he had important plans. The foolish part of me that still hopes her dad isn't a total jackass questioned if I was the important plans, and he wanted to say goodbye to me before I leave for the summer. Now I know who he really considers to be important, and, once again, it isn't me. I hate the type of person it's turned me into, one desperate for attention and validation, and I hate that I've let my life become one shaped by knee-jerk reactions to feeling forgotten. For once, I want to make a decision because it will make me happy, not because something has triggered me into acting out. I lock my phone screen and push my phone back into my purse as soon as the body in my peripheral vision gets too close. It's not that Amelia doesn't know I snoop, but it's still embarrassing, particularly because her dad is actual perfection, and as much as she tries, she'll never understand. It isn't Amelia. Hey, Russ says carefully. Are you okay? Forcing a smile, I look up at him with as much enthusiasm as I can muster. Yeah, I'm great. Are you? He watches me closely before responding. Are you really okay? Did someone bother you? He's been bothering me for 20 years. It's totally fine. His mouth forms an O as he nods, apparently understanding immediately. What can I do to make you feel better? My brain wants me to tell him to take his t-shirt off again, but that feels like the wrong move. So I shrug, because I don't have the answer to what will make me feel better yet. There must be something. Tell me a secret. A secret? He repeats. Yeah. I don't know why I said it, but I can tell he's thinking about it. It's a silly thing my sister and I started asking each other when we were kids. We've never been the closest siblings, but our middle ground has always been doing things we shouldn't, and it was our way of sharing. You make me nervous, he says eventually, immediately taking a swig of his beer. That isn't a secret. I laugh. That's very obvious. He blows out a sigh and rubs his hand against his face. I think you're stunning. His admission catches me off guard. Stunning. I shake my head anyway, and my hair dances in front of my eyes. That isn't a secret either. You're impossible. He chuckles. His hand reaches out slowly, cautiously, tucking my hair behind my ear, hovering a little longer than necessary. My secret is I don't really like parties, but I'm glad I came to this one and met you. And when I couldn't find you, I was sad when I thought you'd left. Oh, shit. That was smooth. Was it actually? Because I tried really fucking hard. I was really close to confessing to a crime I didn't commit because of the pressure. There he is. You did a great job. Thanks. I don't do this a lot. I'm not good at it. You don't go around telling strangers your secrets? I hide my smile with a sip of my drink. A real smile this time. I don't tell anyone usually, but I meant I'm not good at talking to people I'm interested in. I don't know what it is about his uncertainty that I find so charming. Maybe it's because even though he's not sure of himself, he's sure he wants to talk to me, and I'm clinging to those slivers of certainty with both hands. You said you live here. Because I do. You have a room.
Is that a question? They don't make me sleep outside, if that's what you mean. This fucking guy. Yeah, I have a room.
Painful. Actually painful. Are you going to show it to me? You said you don't like parties. We could get away from it. I practically see the light bulb appear above his head when he realizes what I'm asking.
That depends. Are you drunk?
A little buzzed, but definitely not drunk. Are you drunk? He shakes his head, trailing his hand across my shoulder and down my arm until his fingers thread through mine.
Buzzed, but not drunk.
Russ's hand makes mine look tiny, and our linked fingers are what I watch as he leads me through the crowd toward the stairs. Drunk people are draped over the banister watching the events in the living room, presumably waiting for a bathroom or something, but they all turn to look at us with interest. I keep my head held high and try to not let it show that I know this will be on the UCMH gossip page tomorrow. I pull out my cell phone as he taps the door code, pulling up my chat with Amelia, and follow him into the room. Amelia Bennett. Bedroom at the top of the stairs. Door code is 3993.
Russ?
Yeah, he's awkward. It's charmed me.
I knew I shouldn't have left you unattended.
You sober enough to be making good choices? When do I ever make good choices? But yes.
Remember, we have breakfast with your parents tomorrow, and a flight to catch. Do you have condoms?
Yeah. Please manifest him knowing what he's doing.
The universe doesn't care about your orgasms, Aurora. Be safe. Remember to share your location.
Sorry, I say to Russ, putting my cell back into my purse and setting it down on the bedside table. I was just letting my roommate know where I am.
Responsible.
He smiles and sits on the edge of the bed.
My old captain made us use a tracking app, but it was mainly in case anyone's location pinged at a police station.
You don't seem the pinging at the police station type.
Thank you, I think.
He laughs, deep and warm. It tugs at my stomach in a weird way. I finally take in the room, wandering aimlessly, looking for picture frames or something about him, but finding nothing. I'm not joking when I say this is the tidiest bedroom I've ever been in, mine included. Even the empty cardboard boxes have been collapsed and lined up next to his wardrobe. His bed has more than one pillow, and they even look like nice pillows. They all have pillow covers on them and don't look like they've been run over by a 16-wheel truck, unlike many of the guys on this campus. I reach his desk, and other than some engineering books, there's nothing personal, no signs that it's him who lives here. He watches my tour of the room quietly, eyes following me from corner to corner. Turning to face him, I slide myself onto his desk, pushing his textbooks out of the way. Do you have a girlfriend? My question catches him by surprise, and his mouth twists in confusion.
No.
Your room is really clean. There's nothing about you in here. No pictures, hobbies. I wouldn't even know he played hockey if he didn't live here. There isn't one piece of dirty, smelly equipment littering the floor. And you have pillows. With covers. The last one makes him snort, and he stands, strolling over to the desk.
Is the bar really that low? Pillows with covers makes you think I have a girlfriend that I'm cheating on?
He finally stops right in front of me. I widen my knees, and he steps into the space they create, his body dangerously close to mine. My heartbeat speeds. Heat prickles at the nape of my neck as he leans over me. He doesn't touch me, though. His hand travels past me and toward a shelf above the desk. Much like everything else in here, the picture he hands me is pristine, not even a slightly bent corner. It's him and several of the guys I met downstairs trying to hold up a trophy. They look like they're all jumping on Russ, and he has the biggest grin I've ever seen.
A picture and a hobby.
I gaze up at him, a small smile on his lips. You look really happy. putting the picture back on the shelf. He nods.
Best day of my life.
Why?
Tell me about the best day of your life.
His redirection is odd, but there's no point in me pushing him because it's not important, really. And emotional baggage isn't really well suited to the whole one-time hookup thing anyway. I don't think you brought me up here to hear about my life, did you? I shuffle closer, legs widening to accommodate his huge frame, and lean back on my hands. Or do you need a Jenga tower to want to touch me? Should I find a board game? What about 7 minutes in heaven? Should I set the timer?
Aurora,
he says softly. His hand finds my chin, nudging my face up to look at his. The moonlight peeking through his half-cracked blinds illuminates him, making him borderline ethereal.
If a timer goes off, I'm smashing your phone.